try not to fall in the river here. And as you can see, the water just beads right off of it. Let's take some leather gloves and some Sno-Seal and seal them just like you would your boots or whatever. And it makes some excellent warm, waterproof leather work gloves. Now, these ones here are suede. I've never actually done this, or I mean, they're leather, but it's kind of a suede style leather. I've never done it with that style before, but this is kind of what they had locally. And I like that these had the HydraHyde, I guess is the name for it, but they have a membrane, waterproofing membrane, which is supposed to keep your hands dry, but I can tell you right now, it doesn't keep the leather dry. So that's what we're going to do is we're going to keep the leather dry, and then the HydraHyde is going to be kind of a backup. One thing with this, you do have to redo it every now and then. So if your gloves start absorbing any moisture, you're going to have to recoat them probably at least once a season. These also have 3M thin slate, which is a really nice insulation. And I mean, these are just cheapy gloves. I think these were $15 at local big box store. But that's what's great about it is you can make some really excellent gloves with just a little, $6 can of Sno-Seal. And this does more than one. I've done, I think, one pair of gloves out of there already, and it took about a quarter of it maybe. So you got quite a bit in there. And then these are fairly cheap gloves. So we're going to go ahead and coat these with wax here and make them waterproof, make some excellent all-weather gloves. A couple things to keep in mind when choosing them. For this style, for winter gloves that you're going to waterproof, I definitely recommend getting the cuffs, just to kind of keep the snow from getting in your glove from the top. I probably wouldn't have chosen this suede kind of leather, but I think it'll be just fine. But we're going to find out for sure. There's a few different ways to do this. With Sno-Seal, you do need to get the leather hot for it to absorb the Sno-Seal properly and really get it soaked in there, into the seams and everything, so they are waterproof. So, the guy that I got the idea from, he used the oven. But what we're going to do today is we're just going to carefully use a heat gun. Now, you have to be super careful because you can pretty easily discolor and burn the leather with a heat gun. And this probably will discolor a little bit. I mean, the Sno-Seal by itself is going to darken the leather. I'm going to go ahead and tear into these, and we'll get the heat gun fired up, and we'll get these coated. And I have some cardboard down here on the bench just to protect the bench from wax. Could be a little bit of a fire hazard. This is a wax substance. It's beeswax based and some heat. So just be careful. I'm going to make sure it doesn't get too hot. And I've got a fire extinguisher, but I don't want to get wax all over my workbench surface. So what I'm going to do to make this easier is I've got some nitrile gloves. I'm going to put those on so I can just rub the Sno-Seal in by hand without getting it all over my hands. Because the easiest way I found to do it is just to grab hold of the glove and just scoop out some Sno-Seal and kind of rub it in almost like you're packing a bearing. Just going to preheat the glove a little bit. You can kind of see there, almost got it hot enough to change colors already, so you got to be super careful with the heat gun. I've heard of people putting them in the oven and heating them up to like 350 or something, maybe not even that hot, and then working it in, but I feel like this is quicker and easier, and I don't have to worry about making a mess in the kitchen. Alright, it's probably hot enough to get going. I'm just going to reach in here and grab this and just start working it in, smearing it all over everything. There might be a more efficient way to do this, but this seems to work. Now let's kind of get a base coat on here, and then we'll go ahead and fire the heat gun back up and kind of melt it all in. This stuff also does have kind of a strong smell. It's not super chemically because it's waxy. It's not super unpleasant, but it is kind of strong, especially when it gets hot. So that's another reason I don't want to do it in the kitchen. And we're just going to kind of melt that Sno-Seal on into the leather. You see it darkening up there a little bit where I'm running the gun over it. Over here, hopefully the camera can focus correctly. And you don't want to make sure you don't want to get your hand too hot because you got wax and rubber and whatever all over it. And these heat guns get pretty hot, so don't burn yourself. And I just kind of apply it pretty liberally, especially on the seams. Trying to kind of use one hand and keep the other hand clean so I don't get my heat gun too gross. I also do the cuff a little bit. The cuff doesn't necessarily get completely waterproof, but it doesn't hurt to get it a little bit. You can see it heats up and just melts right on in. I'm really curious to see how this suede style leather does. I don't see no problem with it. I'm actually going to hold the video a little bit of grip. One downside is waxy. I don't think the gloves are real slippery. One issue I did run into with a pair of gloves, first pair of gloves I did, is they weren't HydraHyde or waterproof or anything, and they kind of a little wax soaked through, and so for a little while my hands kind of smelled like Sno-Seal. I'm sure all the fingers, and the joints real good. One thing about this suede is it doesn't change color as much, which is, I guess, nice in a way, but one downside to it not changing colors, it's a little hard to make sure that I got Sno-Seal everywhere, so I feel like I'm probably using a little bit more than I need to. But just trying to make sure I get any of the white spots all sealed in, especially on the seams, because it's going to leak anywhere. That's usually where it happens. Alright, I'd say that hand's pretty good. Let's go ahead and get the other glove over here. And again, kind of start by heating the glove up a little bit. You can see the color difference there between the two of them. Thumbs not super nice and close. Still pretty good filming setup. There's my sheet from the side behind the strap on, so awkward. It's like maybe a little or something. But I moved to a new location. This is my new shop. It's my little shed. It doesn't seem something as it is, which is really nice. There's a little more work. Hopefully that goes like that. I might use my call mic, so it might be a little bit better. And again, I'm probably using too much Sno-Seal, but it's really cheap, and I've heard my hands get wet, so I need to see where you got it, where you got it. From the back, you can see it's still really bright. Trying to rub the seams really well here. So I'm really, you can probably just use a wax and beeswax or something, but I think Sno-Seal has some extra ingredients in it that kind of help out. And there's plenty of synthetic waterproof gloves out there on the market, but I find that they're not nearly as durable as a leather glove. And my problem with stuff like mechanics gloves, they're great for some things, I use them for shooting and light work, but they don't handle heat very well. They'll melt. They're like napalm because they're not real leather, they're synthetic. So, these can be used around a little bit warmer stuff. I mean, the wax absorbs in pretty well, so it doesn't tend to melt too bad. But these aren't going to burst into flames or melt in your hand like in a plastic fire like mechanics gloves would. These are great for working outdoors. They give you decent dexterity and super durability compared to something like a ski glove that's made of nylon or what have you. Just gonna make sure I get all the seams here, especially inside of the thumb joint. It doesn't take a whole lot of heat to get the Sno-Seal melting. I've got this guy on low. I'm not holding it in one place for very long. So what I'll do is I'll go ahead and finish these up, one set, and then take it out in snow and see what I do. I need to do like a dip it in water kind of test. I'm not sure a lot of you probably seen this trick, we've been doing it for a long time, but I kind of run up the edge of synthetic hold here. And sometimes the basic stuff's best in the bowl, leather. So I really like the opportunity to utilize all the gloves and synthetic gloves for cold. I think I'll probably use too much Sno-Seal on these guys, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. You can see that some of there's a little brightness to it. Now if you like the set, the color tends to even out a little bit, so that kind of solidifies and dries a little bit, and we'll go see some too. So make it a little bit, I think I'm kind of wet, I'm just going to squeeze this a little bit. Alright, well, that's the basic application. The nice application, those are pretty easy. You get a couple spots to see on this one. The one downside to this method versus something like that works, something like that works. That's the easy design. These are the breathe on, so I'm sure you know what it's doing. Alright, so that's all there is to it. I'm going to go ahead and let these cool down, and we'll test them out and see how they do. Alright, so this is my local river here, and as you can see it's pretty icy and cold, so I'm going to go ahead and submerge the treated leather glove in the water and see how it does. Try not to fall in the river here. And as you can see, the water just beads right off of it. Grab some rocks on the bottom. Not soaking it at all. Leave my hand submerged in there, can't even feel the water temperature. Still perfectly dry. Little chunk of snow and ice. So as you can see, it works pretty well. Pretty simple trick. I know it's been around for a while. I know a lot of you probably know it. But hey, if you're like me and hadn't heard of it and needed some good, durable, waterproof winter gloves, this might help you out. All right, thanks guys. Talk to you later.